Big apologies to all the non-Pies fans out there. Finger must have slipped on that one. No apologies to all to the Black and White Army. Got some lovely text coming in, a bit of shade coming in on the text line as well. But yeah, the grand final is upon us and the Mighty Pies are there for the big dance, taking on the Lions at the MCG this coming weekend. To say I'm excited is an understatement, but two people who are at least as excited as me are Magpies mega fans and the finest ambassadors of the Black and Whites, Anton Issa and social media star Swoop Luke. Hello.
Hey, thank you for having us on, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. How are we feeling?
Yeah. Excited?
I'm super excited, and I'm unusually not crazily nervous. I think I'm an expert now at losing grand finals. I went to 02, I went to 03, I went to 2011.
Yeah.
But this week I'm like, you know what? It's our bloody time.
It's our time,
Yeah.
yeah. I did see a stat that I think we've only won 2 of the last 17 grand final appearances, something like that.
That's just classic Collingwood. But no, I'm feeling pretty confident too. Like I had a couple of guys at work come up to me today and say, oh, you know, you're nervous, you're confident, or how are you feeling for this week? And, you know, I'm confident because you have to always go into a game confident. But if you're nervous for the whole week, it kind of ruins the vibe as well.
Yeah.
So go into it with a little bit of positivity, anything can happen. We don't know what's going to happen tonight, let alone, you know, on Saturday afternoon. So going in with a bit of positivity, confidence, and enjoying every single bit of this grand final week.
100%. It's just a great week to soak up Melbourne, isn't it? And I mean, I always enjoy grand final week, no matter sort of who's in it. But with the Pies there, it's extra special. But it is important, I think, to soak up all the banners you see outside houses. And I remember someone in my street growing up painted his car St Kilda colours when St Kilda made it. So I love that kind of nuffy stuff.
Yeah, I've been posting, people have been tagging me in their stories all week, and some guys painted his fence, flags in the windows, someone's house as well with black and white stripes. So it's catching on. The army's catching on.
And get into it. Like, don't hold back. This
100%.
is a festival. This is a festival of the city. And when you have a big club like Collingwood, probably the biggest club in Melbourne, if not the country, you know, you feel it. You feel the energy.
Yep.
And so just get into it.
Get into it, indeed. What was your experience at the prelim final last? Ant, you were there, were you?
Mm-hmm. I was there sitting top deck. It was just, you know, it's so hard to describe, but when you're in a stadium and you've got 95,000 other people and you're completely in sync in terms of when you sing, when you curse, when you cheer, like there was a moment, like there's something about footy that just brings out the irrational animal of humanity. And I'm sitting there and I'm like screaming and I'm yelling. I would never behave like this in normal society. And I'm like, and I had a moment, I think, in the third quarter, and I just thought to myself, Anton, take a moment and just capture what you're doing. You are screaming like an imbecile. You're saying the most horrendous things. You're behaving like something from the Stone Age. You're insane. You're nuts. And then I turned around and everyone was doing the same thing that I was doing. And I'm like, oh my God, I am in a family of crazy people. This is great. I love it. And so when you, afterwards, when the siren went, everyone was just happy and singing, and it's just a euphoria. And it's just an adrenaline that you get that you don't get anywhere else, I don't think. Like, you can't get that same adrenaline that you get when you have 95,000 other people just going through the same emotions, that wave of emotions that you're going through for about 2 hours. And it's an incredible feeling.
Totally. I love that we all sing a song afterwards as well. It's such a great tradition in AFL, I reckon. What was your prelim?
Yeah, so I was there. I was lucky enough to get tickets behind the cheer squad. So it was very, very rowdy. But like Ant was saying, like how everyone just kind of knows to even do the Collingwood chant. After Dan McStay kicked the first goal, chant went up. When we were down, the chant went up. It's not like one person starting it. It's like, you know, 20,000 people going, I'm going to start the Collingwood chant right now, and everyone's doing it. And like you said, Ed, I had was a young kid behind me, I don't know, maybe 12 or something, and with her parents and stuff, and I'm just like cursing, and Dad's like, you know, stop, like there's people around you. I turned around and I said, you know, sorry for swearing. She goes, no, it's fine, keep going. So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, whether it's on the TV, yelling at TV, or yelling at the ground, everyone's doing it. So
that's right.
But it's it was a euphoric feeling. That those last 7 minutes, I think, when no one kicked a goal, and Collingwood were just, you know, tunneling it, you know, trying to get the ball just to stop play, and yeah, it was crazy. But that 1 point euphoria, I'm just riding that momentum into this week.
When I think I think when the players and the coach have said repeatedly throughout the year that they thrive off that energy they get from Collingwood supporters.
Yeah.
I think Collingwood, we know now that we play a role. And so there was a moment, I think, in the second quarter where GWS was just getting on top. And so I think there was a moment where we just started chanting because we're just like, we have to lift our players.
Yeah.
And I was texting, I've got friends in the cheer squad. I was texting the cheer squad being like,
Get us going.
get your bloody chant going. We need to lift. We need to help the players. And so I think now there's an awareness amongst the Collingwood army that we know we have a role to play as well. And so when our back's against the wall, we have to start chanting. We have to get our voices up because we know the players will lift if we do that.
100%.
That was amazing, wasn't it? It's not just the chant that goes up when the going's good, but it's actually, no, come on, like have a crack. And with, 95-odd thousand Pies fans in the stadium, drowned out everything else, on Friday night. And tell us about your Collingwood journey, because I'm fascinated by how people come to the club and any football club, really. I think, Sweet, you were featured in an article in The Age about a year ago, wasn't it, when you were making the journey up to Sydney to that prelim final. And I think I remember reading that you kind of really latched onto the Pies in 2018.
Yeah, so, well, it was kind of like my family weren't big football supporters or anything like that. So kind of like with Collingwood, it was just primary school, kind of following them through primary school and parents would take me to the football and stuff. And then 2018, I was in year 12 when we won the premiership. So I got to celebrate that with mates. And then, 2018 was obviously huge, but I've always loved the Pies for 30 plus years or however old I am. But, my love for them has really grown with this swoop stuff and just seeing how much the team means to everybody. Like every person, they'll message me like, thank you for this or I love the Pies for this. I've been following them for 40, 50 years. And that gets me really riled up in a good way. And it just means so much to so many people, and it deepens your love for it, seeing a whole raft of people, not just family and not just close friends. And, so my love has just gone 1,000-fold these last 5 years since I've been doing swoop stuff. But driving to the prelim with Dad and my brother, and the inverse, losing by a point last year. So it's it's definitely better this year.
But it's community, right?
Yeah,
and so
100%.
when you start to plug into community, and as I said, you go through that wave of like sharing emotions with people. It ties you in, and it becomes more than just a game of football. It really becomes a community, a practice that you do. And because you get those emotional rewards, you kind of get hooked on it.
Yep.
And it's like, God, I can't get this anywhere else. I can only get it from footy.
Yeah.
And I can only get it from crazy Collingwood supporters. So I'm going to plug in. That also means, it's a high risk, high reward engagement, right?
100%.
So
It is,
it's
which is
you
why
get
we
the
get nervous
rewards,
sometimes.
And then you get the pitfalls, but then you share the pitfalls. I remember when, like whenever we lose big games back in the 2000s, I would just jump onto, big footy was the thing at the time.
Yep.
I would just jump onto the Collingwood forum to be like, I need to sulk with other Collingwood supporters because they're the only ones who understand my state of mind right
Absolutely.
now.
So has Collingwood been there for sort of your whole life?
So I grew up in a psychotic Collingwood family, which is probably why I'm a psychotic Collingwood supporter. I don't even remember the first game I went to. I think Dad took me when I was a toddler. Yeah. And it was in the 90s, so we had reserved seats at Victoria Park, and that was every Saturday. We would go to Waverley, and I grew up in Craigieburn, so we'd drive from Craigieburn to Waverley Park. We'd go to the G, to those big games in the 90s. We had a massive house party when we won the flag against Essendon in 1990. So we've always been very strong, black and white.
Yeah.
And then 2002 rolled along, and I was in year 12. And I bought a scalping ticket to go to the grand final. Wow. And I'm not going to tell you how much it was because it was ridiculous for an 18-year-old to spend. And then I did it again in 2003. I spent so much money and we lost both grand finals. And Mum said to me, she's like, do not go this year. And then I told her yesterday that I got a ticket. She's like,
you might be the curse, man.
That's right. That's putting me on edge. Getting some lovely text messages through. Offensive interview. That's what we want to hear. Go Lions. Yes, indeed. Soak it all up. Up the woods. This should be a regular segment. I totally agree, Jack. Can the Pies, cold Pies, go Pies. Bit of a mix, but yeah, we're going to keep this rolling for another 10 minutes or so. I love that sort of people come to this club through a range of different channels. And I was actually up visiting my auntie a little while ago earlier this year. And, Collingwood goes back sort of generations in my family. My grandpa was a mega fan. And she dug up this newspaper clipping from The Sun, Wednesday, March 28, 1990. Lee Matthews is interviewed. And we always had this rumour in our family that my grandpa would write to the club every week using the moniker Old Time Magpie, never actually divulged his name. And there's this interview with Lee Matthews when he's asked about whether the supporters ever get in touch and how he deals with the intense kind of investment of Collingwood fans. And he says, there's one particular supporter who writes to me every week and apparently has done so to previous Collingwood coaches. They're very detailed letters that lob on my desk about every Wednesday or so, about his thoughts on prospective team placements and performances. Do the letters make any sense? The interviewer asks. Yeah, they're fairly logical. I always read them. Ever act on any of the recommendations? I consider all genuine advice.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This is March 1990. We know what happened that year. We went on and won the premiership.
Swoop, have you been writing letters to
Craig
every week
McRae.
with
I
your list
don't know if he's reading him straight into the fireplace, I think. But I have been writing
Here are my ins and outs.
lots of letters, lots of tweets, lots of Instagram posts about him. So I love the man.
But interesting, I mean, I've listened to some of your interviews, Swoop, and you've interviewed sort of players and really sort of significant figures in football generally. And I remember listening to interview with, I think, David King when I was travelling internationally earlier this year. And he talked about how he really values people like yourself who follow teams so closely and they actually get a lot out of your insights on the game that some of those commentators don't have because they're following, a whole bunch of different teams.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal to be, I guess, in the position that I'm in. Sometimes it's imposter syndrome as well, like getting to interview Eddie and Dan McStay, and David King was a good one to have on at mid-season, and there's lots of fans who have, like you said, like your grandfather, logical sort of things to say about the club and stuff, and it's nice, and we know that we can be biased, and that's just in our nature, but getting to see that all and different sort of perspectives, and David King talking about the Pies, it's really cool to see, and I just love the love from the media this year on Collingwood and Craig himself. Yeah.
But just on you, I can say as a Collingwood supporter that you are my go-to source now for news on Collingwood. No, seriously, and not just me, but I think everyone who follows Collingwood now, if you're really engaged in the football club, like you go to Swoop to get your news to what's going on in the footy club, and you've created a hub where not only can you get like up-to-date information as to what's going on in the footy club, because you don't really get that all the time in mainstream footy media, right? Like they can't go across every single detail of one football club. But if you're a supporter, like all I want to know is what's happening at my club. Like I don't really, like I'm interested, but I'm not so interested with what's happening with Freo.
And some of that commentary is all to generate a headline or, keep it pretty surface level
but
as well.
There's an audience and a demand for that kind of level of detail for
Absolutely.
for the football club that you support, right? And especially with Collingwood because you have a big following. So I think Swoop's filled that. But also you've created a hub and a community around which we can engage with other supporters. Also without the layer of maybe having a football club that does it in a more of a marketing style. You've done it in a more authentic community style. Yeah. And that's been really valuable for Collingwood Pride, like our LGBTQ supporter group, because we've been able to plug into, the broader Collingwood community. And we've actually gotten a few people to join our Pride group through Swoop because there are LGBTQ or people who are allies or people just want a cool space to be in that's kind of fun and friendly, and they all follow Swoop. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow. There's like a little club where you can kind of be part of that. So it's all kind of working in sync. Really
I love that you two are such great ambassadors for being good fans as well and sort of good citizens as fans. We're complete pies nuffies, you two, but always respectful. And even if you do called out for swearing at a game, which can happen, but it's not, there's swearing right. If you're not abusing people, it's pure passion. Obviously, you try and hold yourself back if there's kids around and the like, but it's very different to, cutting people down and that sort of thing too. So, I mean, and you sort of revived the Collingwood, well, it's called Collingwood Pride now, but something that was begun many years ago by Richard Watts, who's a stalwart of the Triple R airwaves. Then it sort of lay dormant for a while. What's it been like for you sort of building and tapping into that community of the LGBTQ supporter base for Collingwood?
Well, it's helped that Collingwood has been riding this incredible wave on the field, and there's so much attention coming to Collingwood, even from amongst Collingwood supporters. So there's a focus on it. So that's really helped. But, when I restarted the Pride group, I looked around and almost every club almost every footy club has a Pride group now. So Collingwood actually fell behind the 8 ball. We started it in the 90s. And then we just kind of dropped the ball. Yeah. Carlton have such an incredible, and it grates my... and I know I love you, Carlton Pride. I know you guys are great. But just, Carlton is so plugged into their Pride group. They but the club provides them so much support. They're so well established. Essendon the same. Hawthorn, Geelong.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, Bulldogs.
Honestly,
all
all of them. 17 other
Sydney,
teams.
yeah. So we have really fallen behind the 8 ball. So I went to Collingwood. I'm like, hello, we've got to do better than this.
Yeah.
And so, but also from the, I guess you'll appreciate this too, Swoop. From the fan perspective, I think, we're coming to a stage where I think fans have a stake in the football club, the football club's identity, the football club's culture. When Duberta came around in 2020 and all the focus was on Collingwood's culture and changing it for the better. Yes, Craig McRae has done an incredible job on the inside. So has Jeff Brown and all the staff that he's brought along, the playing group, Darcy Moore. Yep. But the fans have a role to play as well. And that's where we've come in.
Yep.
We've come in and we're like, we've got a stake in this. We also have a role in defining and determining what the culture of the footy club is.
Totally.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah, and the AFLW has been a great part of that story as well,
right.
and the Collingwood women's team coming on board too.
Yeah.
No, it has, and I kind of see it through my socials and stuff, and like you said, it's just, there's a time and place for sort of everything, and I might be a little bit chirpy on Twitter when Carlton lose or something like that, because that's just
part of the
it's
fun,
a part
right?
of your thing, Like, I got whippets that hate cats. They never met a cat, but they hate the cats because that's just bred into them, bred into them. So it's bred into me to sort of hate those sort of people. But like, the community that I've been trying to build, we've been trying to build with Pride as well. It's just fostering a new way of thinking, and Darcy Moore leads it so well with the way they call him the new age sort of captain, and he really is. And I absolutely love everything he's done. Craig McRae. As well, and you just kind of got to look at people say, why do we need a Pride group, or why do we need this, why do we need that, why can't we all just support Collingwood? And we'd love to all just support Collingwood at the same time without having these sort of these other sort of groups. But I saw something on Twitter today where it was I think it's Jordan Boyd from
that's right.
Carlton.
Yeah, Carlton,
He had nail polish on. I got nail polish on right now. Grundy had it on at one stage. Whatever.
Every Pliers fan should have black and white nail polish on this week.
You know what I mean? But like, and I guess it's toxic masculinity at some, like, oh no, he's just setting himself up for failure because he's got nail. It's literally nail polish.
Right.
It's different if he was wearing gloves with super glue on them.
Right.
That's setting himself up for failure. But
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's these sort of things where we just want to sort of shift the focus from what was in the 90s, early 2000s to what will be in this new era of not only Collingwood, but the AFL and AFLW in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to also understand that, everyone has been drawn to football from all walks of life, whether you're gender, sexuality, race. People of all stripes from society have always been drawn to footy, but footy hasn't always been welcoming of everyone of every stripe. Not of women, not of people of colour and Indigenous people, and still having issues on that level. Definitely people of different sexual orientations or different gender expressions. Even if you are practice a heterosexual or heteronormative life, if you decide to dabble in a bit of femininity or some non-binary kind of antics like painting your nails, you get attacked. And it's not about being straight or gay. It's about toxic masculinity. Like, to be footy, you have to be like this. It's like, no, you can be whatever you want to be as a player and as a supporter. And so that's what the message we're trying to get across is. You can be passionate, you can be diehard, you can be a Collingwood supporter and hate Carlton, but, you can do that without hating on people. Just accept that we are a diverse society and that you can express that on the playing field and you can express that in the stands and you can do it safely.
And that's sort of always been reflected in the fan base, but not at all in the culture that engages with that fan base, and certainly the cultures within clubs and at the level of the AFL as well across the board. So it's amazing to have people, like yourselves and many others as well, pushing forward that momentum and advancing that sort of change that needs to happen, not just within Collingwood, but across the whole breadth of the AFL and teams and society more broadly as well. Just very quickly onto some team stuff. So what are we going to do with selection? I'm not sure how many listeners are familiar with the ins and outs of this, but we can go full enough for a moment. So Daniel McStay is out with his knee injury. So at least one player is going to come in. What do you think we should do?
First, heart goes out to him. Heart goes out to his family. Playing the team that he played for as well, against the team he played for. Heartbroken. I love everything that McStay did. But yeah, you're right. One card comes out. I think maybe Taylor Adams sort of comes in. He's the sort of nuffy that he's a Collingwood nuffy that we need in there. And I think maybe Ginnivan straight into the team as well. I only see about one. I only really see one change. They might go smaller to combat Brisbane Lions' defence.
I think it's Taylor Adams as well. I think we saw in that Brisbane Carlton game in that second quarter, how the Brisbane midfield just
Yes,
took
smashed them.
control.
Yep.
Carlton couldn't touch the ball.
Yeah.
And so our midfield needs to be on it. So I agree. I think Taylor Adams, if he's fit, would come back in, and maybe if we need to have more of a tall up forward, I think Howe might go back and forth. I mean, it's the grand final. Craig McRae's going to throw anything and do anything
Exactly.
to
That's
make sure
right.
we get the winning combination right.
Yep.
He might think he started the game with the winning combination. Second quarter might arrive. He's like, oh, okay, I've got to move Howe.
Change things up.
Move things around. Yeah. So I think he will do that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it comes to which team is the hungriest and wants to win. And I think we have had that hunger for a while, and we've demonstrated that hunger. So yeah.
I'm quietly confident. Actually, no, I'm loudly
great.
confident, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
You may as well go in with, like I said at the start, you may as well go in with confidence.
Yeah.
And I think this is our year.
Yeah, look, I know what the grandfather losses, we all do. I know if we lose, I'll be in depression until next June. I know what that is. I've done that depression until next June. But you're right. Let's ride it.
Yeah.
And if we get it, then it'll be fantastic. And if
I
we
agree.
don't, whatever.
Fully embrace it. Feel all the feelings. That's what this week is all about. And yeah, for all those people out there who are engaged in footy in some way, hope you've enjoyed this chat. Swoop, Luke, Antoine, Issa, thank you so much for coming in. Have an amazing week this week and also Saturday. I mean, both of you are going along, which I'm super jealous about. I'm going to try and get my hands on a ticket if anyone out there has any leads.
Text
Please
in.
let me know. But yeah, thanks so much. And up to Mighty Pies.
Thank you for having us on, mate. Appreciate it. Up to Pies.
Cheers.
Cheers.